Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of On the Neutral Ground.
And check us out on all social media platforms at On the NG Show. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to episode 2 On the Neutral Ground. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. Today we're going to talk a little bit about workforce development. As you may or may not know, me starting out as an actor in this business, came into Louisiana teaching myself how to edit, so became an editor for a while. I then became a locations assistant and location manager, and really found a nice niche and a network here in Louisiana where I could actually get into more of the projects that were coming in. It was a great opportunity for me to continue working. But I also noticed that there's really no real one true place to go to if I'm trying to find employment here. So I'm glad you all have come here today to help us kind of talk through some of those resources and maybe give some of our audience some places to go to. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I'm Jabari Thomas. And so, a lot of people don't know this. I actually started out, as a PA because I, snuck on the films and stuff like that. So, and a lot of people that I talk to actually started somewhere at the bottom and then worked their way up. And that's where you can actually get started. But first, I want to introduce, we have two very special guests with us today. We have Darcy McKinnon. Yes, from Novak. She's the executive director there. And so tell us a little bit about Novak.
Yeah, Novak stands for New Orleans Video Access Center. We're the Gulf South Media Arts nonprofit. We've been around for 46 years as of this summer.
46 years. Wow.
We were started in the 70s as part of a kind of generation of power to the people through media organizations. A lot of those have left and fallen away, but there's about 6 or 7 that are as old as we are around the country that we look to and kind of look for support with. We have about 8 employees here in New Orleans, and we also have 2 employees in Baton Rouge. So since 2013, we've had an office in Baton Rouge as well. And we are a hub for anything that has to do with media in the community. And that has, what we do for, to do our programs has changed over time. Our tagline is, we believe that storytellers empower communities, so we empower storytellers. And what that means today is we have a variety of programs. We do youth media education in local public high schools. So we provide instructors that go into high schools, and we also do some programs at our site in New Orleans to teach young people how to use digital media software and create creative art using technology. We do videotape archiving and digitization, so we're working on preserving the videotape collections of the past half century around the region. We produce our own social issue documentary content. We have 2 projects. One's called Post-Coastal, which is about Louisiana's coastal communities, and one called Real Justice, which is about criminal justice issues in Louisiana. And we support independent filmmakers through equipment rental, space rental, fiscal sponsorship. Right before I came here, I read somebody's grant and gave them feedback on it. And then what I'm here today to talk about is we do workforce development in the film industry. So since 2007, right after Katrina, when the state first really tweaked the tax incentive program to bring that economic benefit to the state, my organization, which I was not in charge of at the time, recognized that that's an opportunity for us to make sure that locals get jobs. So since around 2007, Novak has been doing workforce training, a lot of PA training, but also craft-specific training in partnership with the union, and also placement on set. And with the newest iteration of the tax incentive, we're actually able to help fulfill the career-based requirement of productions by helping get folks on-set experience as well.
Nice. So, if you don't want to be on camera and you want to work behind the scenes, there's so many different positions that you can do, and Novak basically trains those people to be set ready.
Yeah, and if we don't train them, we can find an opportunity to help train. There's a lot, Corey's going to be able to tell you, there's a lot of covered crafts, so there's a lot of things to do in the film industry, and we certainly don't train for all of them, but there's a pathway, and we help people identify the pathway.
Awesome. And then did you want to add anything?
No, just that they have a lot going on.
Yeah, they do.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're super busy.
And then, so our other guest, Mr. Corey Parker, and he is IATSE 478 business rep. And basically, you represent people in Louisiana, Southern Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Corey Parker. I am the business agent for 478. Basically, we represent the workers behind the scenes for film and television, commercial work. Pretty much everyone on the set besides camera, hair and makeup, the PAs and DGA. Grip electric, props, set dressing, sound, special effects, construction, paint, craft service, pretty much everyone across the board.
The important stuff.
The most important stuff, right?
And so you basically represent these people and find people jobs. Is that what you do?
We work with every production that comes to town. As soon as they get to town, they reach out to us looking for our crews. We supply them with not only availability lists, but also our complete list of folks that are available to them. And it's just we're like the number one source for them when they come to town.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Absolutely. So today, we obviously want to help anybody who's coming in off the street find placement or some sort of way to get a job in the film industry.
With no experience.
With no experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of the topic we're going to talk about today. I went to film school. I obviously had a lot of resources. My first job literally came from my mentors at UNO. Michelle Benoit, whose husband was Glenn Petrie, happened to be producing a movie as soon as I was getting out, and I became their location manager. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you all represent location managers, but it was just that type of network that I was around that had that opportunity to allow for me to get placed in a job, and then they recommended me moving forward. And so if I'm somebody either graduating college or, like I said, moving to this area and looking for a job, what are the sort of resources that we can help these people find a possible position moving into it? I know maybe we start with you, since you've got a lot of the internship resources and a lot of the ground covered in that area. Maybe you can kind of kick us off here.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I think that Corey and I share is I think a lot of people get excited about the glamour of films coming to town.
Yep.
I get excited about other things. So if you think about the film industry, we're expecting a $500 million economic impact on the state. Most of it's in the greater New Orleans and greater Baton Rouge area. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money for jobs. And another thing that I frequently say when I talk about jobs in the film industry is that it's low barrier to entry and high wage. The wages that Corey's unions negotiate with productions before they even come to town are far better than a lot of the wages that are offered in the other industries that are available for jobs in this region. And you don't have to have a college degree. It's great, but you don't have to have a college degree to work behind the scenes on a film.
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to be with it. You have to be ready. You have to be smart. You have to be pay attention and learn as you go. But it's not a thing that requires a certificated degree. That means it's a huge opportunity for a lot of people. And we know that in Southern Louisiana, we need a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what's exciting to me about the film industry coming to town. The very first job that people usually get on a set is a PA, a production assistant. In fact, I'm thinking where we're sitting right now, the executive producer of the show that's here at the ranch will tell you he started out as a PA in Baltimore. And so, even up to the most kind of elevated jobs that you can think of in the industry, many of those people start out doing set lockdowns, managing walkie-talkies, and doing the basic job of production assisting. So if you have no experience and no way in, the first job is going to be a PA.
Yep.
So how would you start as a PA? Like, let's say if I'm coming off the street and I walk into the ranch and I'm like, I want to be a PA. How do I get trained to do this?
Well, first of all, the ranch can't hire you because
Yes.
the ranch is leasing the space for
Correct.
those executives to come in there. So I just want to clarify that real quick.
Yeah, don't
I'm
come up
always
here.
about helping them find the job. I just am not hiring because
Right.
there's 200, 300 people here at all times. I like I said, I'm not the one doing that hiring. So go on.
Don't walk into a movie studio.
Don't walk onto a location, please.
Yeah.
Well, first, Novak offers usually 2 to 3 times a year a program we call PA Boot Camp. We actually do that in collaboration with an organization that flies in from Los Angeles, experienced set PAs and people who've worked in the AD department. It's a 2-day intensive workshop. We offer it for free through some generous help from supporting organizations, including the Louisiana Workforce Commission. And we're hoping to, before the end of the year, do another PA Boot Camp that's going to be supported by the City of New Orleans. So that's a first way because it's a really intensive workshop that's about set etiquette, vocabulary, walkie-talkie operation, the basic things you'll need to know.
So important, though.
Yeah. So stay in touch with us if you want to be a PA. That's not the only way. When productions come to town and they are looking to hire up, especially for the positions that are not covered by the union, they will frequently have a listing on the Film New Orleans website, or Film St. Bernard or Film Jefferson. And frequently shows have footprints in multiple areas. So even if a show is filming here in St. Bernard, they'll still be listed on the Film New Orleans website.
Great.
So I think that's the first stop for someone to know what's coming into town. And then they also are welcome to email us for opportunities, and we can look at their resume. One of the things that I think can be a bit of an obstacle is film resumes don't look like resumes for other types
Right.
of jobs.
Yep.
When you've had some experience, a film resume is just a list of credits, and that can be difficult to understand how to translate your experience into film centric experience. What we tell people is think about things you've done that are like being on a movie set. Have you ever ushered at the Superdome or done production assisting work at the Jazz Fest or other festivals? Did you work in theater, or have you helped on a student film or a local production or the 48-hour film festival? So those are all things that maybe aren't traditional work experience, but that you could list as experience is going to help frame you as a potential PA. And then also whatever experience you have had in traditional work environments, thinking about how those may connect to production assisting jobs.
Absolutely. Those are all great points. And
Yeah.
you brought up the 48 again, too, which is somewhere that in our last show was mentioned to get some acting experience. But you can do the same thing, obviously, because you're now part of a group over a weekend who's rushing to figure out how they're going to produce this little 3-minute to 5-minute project, which I loved. I still tout all this day that
Yeah.
I really got my chops there. But it's a great way for them to get some experience and obviously network from other people who have opportunities to give them jobs as well. So
I rarely like to recommend people work for free, but if you're coming with zero experience, finding a local indie film production or student film that maybe will feed you for a weekend to work is a great way to get some on-set experience so that you can put that credit on your resume for future jobs.
So, Corey, obviously, once they get a bit of this experience and move possibly into an opportunity to become a member in your union, what are some of the recommendations that you have for folks who are wanting to have that opportunity to be a part of your union?
I always say just keep in front of the people that have hired you in the past, and you got to have a positive relationship with everyone you work with. Just remember that each of these jobs is 30 to 40 days, 20 days. It's going to be over soon. So always have a positive outlook. It's all about relationships in our world. The number one thing with us, if you're actually looking to join the local, you actually need 45 days experience as a paid professional, and that does not mean it has to be on a union project. It could be a non-union project. The one that you're not getting paid on, those days don't count. They do help you eventually secure the work that does pay. But for us, it's the 45 days. You have to be within our jurisdiction for 18 months to qualify. So we have to have a year and a half residency.
Residency like in Louisiana,
Southern Mississippi. Yeah, we basically have all of Louisiana. We have Southern Mississippi. Basically, it's from Canton on down, and then the Mobile, Alabama, which is pretty much it sunk down.
It's all right. It's probably my
30-mile radius or 60-mile radius around the city. So
yeah, I mean, like there are so many pros. Do you want me to pause?
Hold on one second, if you don't mind.
I'm trying to fill up the gaps.
You're doing a great job. Hopefully that'll stay.
we need a real proper grip in here.
Is this a union?
We're not
Can we get a union?
Hopefully that will stay. If you see it going down again, just
I didn't see it go down the first time.
It was down to his feet.
And my knees are shaking. See, I have a little clapping noise in my foot going like this. I heard it earlier, sorry.
We pick back up.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay.
You were asking. Go ahead.
It's like when you stop, you lose your train of thought. So there are a bunch of pros and there are a bunch of cons to like working behind the scenes in the film industry. I would like to say one of the cons are not having that guarantee next job. And there could be a time where you're sitting around not doing anything, and there could be a time where you're consistently busy. But like one of the good things about working in this industry, it pays really, really well. You don't have to be like a major actor to like make decent money, or an actor at all, you know? So since there are so many different departments in the film industry, like what are some of the departments that, you know, that people can relate to in their everyday job that they could, you know, possibly get into the industry using?
Construction.
Yeah,
welding,
construction.
paint.
Grip and Electric is one that we're going to be training for in partnership with the union. I'd say Grip's rig and Electric plugs in, right? So they're the people who make the lighting and structures that possible. Corey probably has a better definition, but those are skills that you get in a variety of jobs that are translatable skills.
If you have a good tool skill set,
Yeah.
that actually helps you with pretty much set dressing, props, grip, electric, construction.
Art.
It really gets you in the door several ways, as long as you're mechanically inclined or have the ability to learn and listen and have a creative.
So that's a good example. So if I'm a mechanic and I decide, man, this thing is really taken off here in the New Orleans area in Louisiana, I think I'd like to try my hand at working in the film industry. What would be my steps? Like, step one would be, all right, I'm a mechanic. I want to go find some work. Where should I go to first?
There's multiple things for a mechanic. It could be special effects. It could be.
But I can't walk right into your union, and I can't really walk right into a set, can I?
Well, if I have somebody come in and has experience and is a professional in their industry and is looking to cross over into ours, obviously we promote ourselves and our members and the folks that are in the local first, but also we help folks get into the work, because there's times where we're so busy that we have opportunities for people outside of the local to come in. And I'll steer that person in the direction of who I think possibly could help them. We're not the hiring hall, but we can help you down the road. Like a mechanic, I would think would be probably something like special effects, because they're doing lots of car rigs, they're doing things like that. They're doing, I would even say, well, picture cars is a natural fit, because not only do a lot of these 60s and 70s shows have these beaters that they bring on set, that they got to have somebody mechanically inclined to keep them going.
And even practical effects, which is in charge of making it rain or explode occasionally, there's definitely going to be a lot of overlap there as well.
Right.
But I think to Corey's point, if you're interested, if you think you have a transferable skill and you want a job in the film industry, especially if you want a union job in the film industry, the first stop is going to be the 478. They will let you know where there are gaps and where they're looking to hire people and help you make those connections. Then there is and I think this is kind of what you're talking about, Jabari. Like there's a bit of a time that can be a little bit tough to transition, because you do have to get your days paid on set. Yeah. So a great place for that kind of stuff are commercials, non-union films, and local indie films. And if you can get someone to pay you even a minimal amount to do work that will qualify as covered work, that's how you can start accumulating your days on set, so that you can then apply for union membership. And then Novak and the NIATSE work really closely together to develop trainings about the covered crafts where there's an area for growth. So right now we're planning a Grip and Electric training, because that is an area where Corey knows that his roster is going to run thin when we're at maximum production. So you can look to either the 478 or Novak, and the trainings that we're going to offer are going to be the ones that the union is looking to hire for, and that can help you kind of guide where you want to go. And another thing I would want to mention that's really a great fit for people maybe who have come from more traditional backgrounds is the production office. So there's a whole team of clerical and accounting work and logistics work that goes alongside making the magic of movies happen. Music clearances,
everything.
Locations, obviously, transportation, travel coordination, accounting, all of the scheduling and planning that has to happen. And they're all very, they're film specific, but they come with the same set of skills you'd find in any logistics-oriented business. So that's another place where maybe if you have had a desk job and that's what you're skilled at, there are still opportunities in the film industry.
I do have to recommend anybody who is interested in more of the clerical, more of the logistics, be prepared to work.
Yes.
Because for one, we're not going to come in and just push some paper around during the day. It is intense. Like, we get in there, we work, we know what our skill set is, we know what we have to achieve, but then you have to turn on a dime when things change,
Yeah.
especially in television that we have a lot of here today. Scripts will come in on a daily basis. Things change very quickly. It's an industry we just need to be prepared, but you obviously need to be prepared to work and work long hours, and that's why obviously there's a lot of high pay. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I think, Corey, we're at $65,000 the average annual salary.
Our average member makes $63,000 a year.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really fantastic, and it's obviously great. It's beneficial. You're not necessarily going to work 12 months out of the year, as we all know, but at least you're going to get good long hours for a couple projects. You may have a month off or so to wait for the next one to show up, which would be great for a little vacationing, some family time. But we've got a lot of work around here. So
And right now the challenge is finding that time, because there's so many shows here
Yeah.
already right now and more coming. You know, when we're talking to crew members, they're occasionally like trying to coordinate if they can leave their current show a week or two early to get on the next thing, or trying to fit in the next opportunity because it's coming so quickly. But I do think that is a thing for people to know who've not worked in the film industry. So film projects or television shows are not companies that exist year round. They crew up and they crew down while they're in production. And so if it's a film, that's one time. If it's a TV show, hopefully it's year after year. But they're not in production all the time, and there is no guarantee of employment at the end of that show. So as Corey is saying, it's all networks and relationships. And then when they're in production, it can vary, but you're working minimum 10 hours a day, and depending on the type of production and the type of show, you know, you can hit 14 and 16 hours. So that time frame when you're working is very intense.
and sometimes
That's
6 days a week.
I was going to build on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That if you're working 60 hours a week, that's like just a regular 40 hours in
the
any
film
other
industry.
world. Yeah.
So if they say that you're going to get paid a certain amount, that's not necessarily the amount you're going to make. You're probably going to make a lot more due to overtime.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, yeah.
overtime's really cool. And
Most
they
of our
feed
folks
you.
are on an hourly. There's very few of our folks that have weekly contracts, but those weekly contracts are based on 60 hours usually. And so once you start putting in those 14, 16-hour days, and that's just another thing you need to prepare the folks that are looking to get into this industry is it is a commitment. It is not, okay, well, I'm going to pick a day and this is the day I'm going to work. If you get hired on a job, you're basically, your life changes because you're working 60 to 80 hours a week. And when you're off, you're resting to go back to work. So it's a
It's an
real,
intense job.
it's a really rewarding job. There's
Yeah.
always every day is different. There's always new challenges, new locations, new experiences, but it will
It's a very
absorb your
creative
day.
team, you know,
Yeah.
'cause we make films and stuff. So a lot of people may be asking, you know, do I need to get in a union film first? Do I need to get in a non-union? Will I get in trouble if I jump too far ahead? Like, what's the difference between non-union and a union job?
Union job will have guaranteed rates or definitely guaranteed benefits with health, welfare, and pension payments. There are some small jobs that it's a negotiable rate, but you definitely get paid into your health, welfare, and pension. Anyone that's working 6 months a year in our world, full-time, like staying employed for a 6-month period, should be able to get an insurance for themselves through the program paid by the employer.
And there's a union pretty much for every department.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
the
yeah.
most known
The
union,
PAs, of course, are not covered.
Right.
And unfortunately, they sometimes work the longest days, and they're kind of. But I will tell you, a lot of PAs, as she was saying, will come on set and they'll cut their teeth learning the experience, and they'll go, "Wow, you know, I get along great with the costume department. I'm going to go talk to these people."
Right.
And they network themselves, and that's how they first learn to get their first jobs in that department. I've seen extras who have gone from being stand-ins to working in the greens department. We have a guy that was a stand-in for years, and now he's one of our regular greens people. It's just about marketing yourself and networking and getting to know yourself. But
And learning where you want to be and
Right.
putting
Find your
yourself
niche.
there.
Yeah.
it's important to find that and try to focus on it and not try to float around all over the place, because if you can find some focus, you'll have more success instead of floating from department to department.
So that's actually one of the things that we've been excited to do over the past 5 or 6 years, and it's led to some big opportunities with us. exactly this conversation having with the union and with some of the folks who'd been through our PA trainings, we were realizing we were training a lot of PAs every year, 60 to 90 PAs per year, and that's a great way in, but it doesn't really guarantee you the opportunity to see where you want to go. Yeah. And so what we developed actually with Joan Caprera, who is here at the ranch right now.
Has been for a while.
Has been for a while, for a couple
for
shows.
A long while.
Yeah. He actually moved to New Orleans through Treme. He's from Baltimore, so he worked with the David Simon team. And when he moved down here, he partnered with Novak to do some PA trainings and placements on Treme. He got a show in 2015 called Quarry, which was a Cinemax show. It was shooting mostly on the West Bank. And he said, he came to Novak, he's like, I want to do something really cool. Let's do something really cool. So we created an on-set internship program, and we partnered with the union, and we were able to place 13 people for 3 weeks, paid on-set in department-specific positions. So they were PAing in the grip department. They were PAing with camera. They were PAing with sound. They were PAing with locations. And they were getting a paid opportunity on set to really look at a department and say, is this the right fit for me? And we, as Novak, were able to select a really cool group of people. Quarry was about a veteran returning from Vietnam. So we partnered with some local veterans organizations. We were able to make sure that half of the placements were veterans. And it went really, really well. And Joe actually convinced Cinemax's parent company, HBO, to pay for it. That has since led to us having a relationship with HBO and now Warner Brothers nationwide, developing these kind of what we call community-based internships that are time-limited but really specific chances to see into the departments that are available so that people can, as they've kind of started in the industry, start to make decisions about where they want to point themselves for their career. And then after that, we're able to pair them with folks that are working in the union and try to help them find a pathway for union membership. So we, on the previous show that was here, the first, Hulu's The First, we did another internship program where we had 15 folks, and two of our interns I know for sure are union members now. Andrew Sullivan and Thomas Zabrowski are working.
And I think the majority of them are getting close to having their days.
Yeah, and everybody, yeah. So it was really clear. It was that really important, I think, next step, linking folks. So that's what we're hoping to do is build careers. Like, we're definitely making jobs, and now we want to help build careers. And so the partnership with the union has been really key to that as well.
That's fantastic. I mean, I know we've talked about this outside of this room, but building that, finding a way to build that program so that more opportunities can happen for more of the people that are coming to Novak, and obviously have a bigger opportunity to grow your membership as our industry grows around here. And so you obviously have a place in Baton Rouge, which I think you mentioned earlier. You have 2 employees over there. Do you hope to expand outside of Baton Rouge? Do you hope to maybe hit Shreveport and Lafayette? And I know you have hopes, but we can have hopes, right?
Yeah. I think what we're hoping to do, I have an idea, and we've talked about it with the union, of really, so there is this fund that is actually that is part of the new iteration of the tax incentive, where productions and producers are actually paying into a fund that will be a few $1 million a year, and that's designed to support Indigenous filmmaking and jobs. I am hoping that we can use some of that funding to create a statewide program. There are models for this. Georgia, unfortunately, has a really, really great model called the Georgia Film Academy. And there are things from that model that I'd like to take. The key thing is that they partner with the technical and community college system.
That's great.
So they're able to spread the curriculum and the type of programming that a Novak does across the state to a variety of places. So I'm not sure that we will have an office there, but my hope is that over the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be able to be a partner in cultivating some curriculum so that there's a statewide access to these opportunities and trainings.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I obviously know a little bit about the tax credit program and what they've done, and I hope to see more workforce development in that area.
Yeah.
So that's going to be hopefully fantastic for you if that starts to move in that direction. So.
Yeah, that's my hope with that. But we've actually had some really key partners that I want to make sure I shout out. The City of New Orleans, both in the prior and now in the current administration, has been really key to doing a lot of training and opportunity. We were able to open up in Baton Rouge through support of Kip Holden's office and the mayor's office in Baton Rouge. And we now are currently working with the Louisiana Workforce Commission through the River Parishes area. Right. And so we've been able to leverage a lot of different relationships to support this kind of programming, and we hope to continue to.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Workforce Commission came to me a long time ago and discussed a program that they were trying to create a database for people who have the skill sets for the film industry. So I think that's interesting if that can start to happen a little bit bigger through workforce development. I don't know how difficult that is, but
the Louisiana Workforce Commission is awesome, but they are just not used to the very particular film specific industry, the ways that the industry works. So it takes a lot of work with them to understand that this is different than an oil refinery,
yes.
And this is different than heavy manufacturing, and so we've kind of been in ongoing discussions with them on what's going to work within their capacity to support film industry workforce development.
Well, let's hope that can get kicked off. I think that would be a really big deal. Internally with LFEA, I've partnered with Trey Burvant and Emery McGinnis to start an educational adjunct committee. Obviously, Corey's going to be a big part of that as well. And so I actually have my first meeting coming up with these guys to really hear from them, too, what some of their, some of their pros and cons of taking their film students and moving them into the workplace. So I'm really excited to hear some of the solutions that they may have and some of the problems that they're seeing that maybe we can overcome. And again, maybe this is something we'll bring you into the fold eventually too, once we start getting a good base set on what some of those things would be, which I think is going to be a really eye-opening experience for all of us to hear from them. So it'd be really great.
One of the other cool things that's been happening since the new version of the tax credit is there's a career readiness requirement, and many shows are doing internships, and that's awesome. But some shows don't have the capacity logistically to do that, and so we've been able to work with a lot of the different productions to bring film professionals into our high school programs. This year we're at 5 local high schools, from Landry Walker on the West Bank to Fisher High School down in Jean Lafitte, Louisiana, to Kip Renaissance in the 9th Ward, and to bring kids who in their daily work will not have exposure to these opportunities. We were able to take a group of 6 young ladies that go to high school down in Jean Lafitte, Louisiana, on the set of Amazon's Troop Zero, which is directed and written by women. That's awesome. So it was and they got to meet Allison Janney and Viola Davis. It was awesome. But we've also had VR producers and the producing team on The Deed come in and talk to our high school students, and really just to help even at an even younger age kind of develop the film industry as an opportunity and a possibility for young people in the city, which is really great.
They never had that in high school, obviously. Me being 40 from Baton Rouge, though, always had a dream of getting into the film industry in some form or facet. Theater was the only real way to really do it. I got into some theater, got into some little acting on the side with some friends with a camera. And now the opportunities are so wide open to really kind of step right through a door and figure out content is what I kind of call it, because you mentioned VR. We obviously have social content now. We can make content as small as to go onto our iPhone that can obviously be consumed and sold very quickly. So that's a whole nother ball game that I am really hoping that people will resonate towards the both of your organizations, to not only find work, but then to set up their own content, to find a way to really kind of branch out, and if creatively trying to express themselves, you can do it socially. We can actually start a website. We can start building stuff on YouTube channels. You can really get a name for yourself through the branding of what it is that you're creating, and then obviously gives you a nice little launch pad onto the possibility of working on something larger or partnering with somebody who's doing these great things, which I'm hoping to see more of in the state of Louisiana. I mean, that's a bit of my goal is what you have on your website, which is building that community of filmmakers, which I think is fantastic. So
we have another cool program that's launching next year. It's called Arts to Work, and it's in partnership with the National Alliance for Media Arts and Culture. They just got 2 federally approved Department of Labor apprenticeship pathways approved. These are for non-union jobs. These are for the roles of digital media producer and editor. And so thinking about kind of a broader than film and television sense of what content is. From everything from working at a television, a local affiliate studio, to working for Ochsner, the Saints, in their media departments or in an ad agency. There's such a huge set of opportunities for media production, even outside of the traditional film and television industry. So these apprenticeships will be an opportunity for employers to hire young people from the region. Those people are getting ongoing technical training through Novak, and the employers also have access to some supportive funding for that apprenticeship model. So we don't have loads of details yet, but we're working on a big announcement for next year, which we'll be looking both for young people in the region to apply, but also employer partners who are looking to gain capacity to expand their media production as well.
Like I said, it doesn't sound like you're doing much over there at Novak.
No.
Man, you guys.
And if y'all haven't learned, if you have little experience in the film world and trying to break in, you want to reach out to Novak. If you have, are starting to get that experience, come sit down with me. I'm going to be the one to help guide you on the next steps there.
Yeah.
And so how do we get a hold of you for training and whatnot? Yeah. Do you have like Instagram?
Yes, we are on all platforms. So our website is novacvideo.org, novacvideo.org, and we're on Facebook, Insta, Twitter. You can reach out to me directly. In New Orleans, our program manager is named Gigi Glenn, and in Baton Rouge, it's Jillian Godshaw. All of us are our first names with the URL, but we're all very findable on the website, and we want you to join us. We also run a Facebook group called Novak Film Jobs NOLA, where we post all kinds of opportunities, including our trainings, but also like little gigs, little things that pop up, or I need an emergency makeup artist on Sunday, and sometimes 95% of them are film related, but sometimes they're very weird stuff too. So I encourage people to join that group. It's an open Facebook group because it's an opportunity also to post if you have something. So a lot of people post their 48-hour needs and stuff like that.
Awesome.
That's
And then
great.
How, if somebody does have a little bit of experience and they're
They
ready
can
to talk to you, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to the website, iatsc478.org, or they can call the office, local 478. We also have a Facebook page. We're not the most active Facebook page out there.
Because
but
you're a
we do-
union.
Well, we have a lot of shows on the ground, so we're
A little busy right now.
focusing on the jobs right now. But just reach out. Ideally, with things about to be really busy, it's a good time, good opportunity.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, guys, this has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
Jabbar, are we missing anything?
No.
We went over
I
so
love
much
being here
today.
with Darcy because she can just run with it.
Darcy is just
I used to teach middle school. I can talk for hours.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for coming in today. We really appreciate it. Hopefully our audience is going to find the resources you gave today, and hopefully we'll see them on film sets here real soon.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sounds great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
That's a wrap.